This video has two purposes. First is to test whether or not my fancy microphone increases the quality of the audio or not. So please let me know if it does. Second, in the context of deep code, there's a conversation I had recently that reminded me of a topic that has been somewhat present in my mind for many years, actually. Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris, I believe actually on their very first conversation, got stuck around the question of truth. And I'm not sure if they ever actually properly resolved it. But what I'd say is that I've thought about this question quite a bit with some help, and I thought it might be useful to share the way I'm approaching the question. The basic idea is really simple, that there are at least three very distinct senses of what we mean by truth. And that either when we assume that only one is the only one, or more commonly, we import aspects of some into one that aren't properly part of it, we get confused and we can get stuck. So let me illustrate what I mean. The first kind of truth for kind of contemporary Westerners is the most common, and this is the truth of propositions. This is the truth of words, the truth of expressions. This is the degree to which I have a desire to express something using a medium of expression, like say the words I'm speaking right now, or writing them down. And then there's a need to check whether or not this correspond to an underlying reality. So I might say something like, water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. So that's a proposition. And then what I can do is I can measure water and see if the measurement corresponds to the proposition of 100 degrees, and then see if the behavior of the water corresponds to the proposition boiling. Then I can say, yes, this proposition corresponds to reality. We now have a truth. And sort of that's that. This is very useful, right? This is a very functional thing, particularly when you want to coordinate things like behaviors between different people, or you want to be able to practically design instruments that are operating in reality, particularly by means of shared information. And so I've noticed something about a way to reliably measure the temperature of water, and I'm sharing that. I call it Celsius. And you are very intrigued by the reliability of the degree to which certain energies cause water to boil. And then we can coordinate my method of measurement and your method of testing into a more fundamental proposition around the boiling point of water. So that's that. Correspondence truth. Very nice, very useful. But then we have another sense of truth. I'm going to call this for the moment live truth. And this is the kind of truth where we use phrases like to true a wall, or when you're firing an arrow at a target, to say that the arrow flew true, or that your aim was true. Or even when speaking about someone as a true friend. Now, what I mean here is fitness to purpose. Right? We're not actually talking about the words at all. The words are not the relevant aspect. What's relevant here is the degree to which a particular behavior is able to link intent and consequence. It is fit to purpose. It is a means to an end. It is a meaningful behavior, full of meaning, full of the capacity to actually further life. Now, this is actually more fundamental. Why do I say that? Well, because all statements, all propositions, all assertions, all hypotheses, all theories are a subset of a larger category known as behavior. So to the degree to which the category of science, the category of structures of propositions that correspond to reality, are in fact fit to purpose, they serve us in life, then they are true in the second sense, true in the more fundamental sense. In point of fact, to be able to be fit to purpose, they have to be true in both senses, right? So a proposition which is false in the first sense will also be not particularly useful in terms of life in the second sense. But the nesting is important. The second sense is more fundamental. And more or less, this is, I think, where the Sam and Jordan's conversation got tripped up. And then, by the way, the third sense has to do with what we might call subjective truth, or truths of subjectivity. And notice the distinctness here. What I might say to you is the thing you're perceiving red. Okay. Now, superficially, this may appear to be something like the truth of the first kind. You're seeing something and you perceive it as red, and you can say, yes, I'll assume for the moment that you're not purposefully lying. But here's the challenge. There is actually no way for me to test that. I cannot ever truly confirm that there is in fact a correspondence between the phrase and the thing, because the thing is a quality of your personal experience. I can measure all kinds of interesting objective phenomena and say that the thing you're reporting as red corresponds to neurological and cognitive phenomena that I'm able to measure repeatedly across a number of people. That I can do, in which case is an experience of the category 1, which is to say, what I'm really saying then is this object that you are perceiving with your eyes producing neurological and cognitive phenomena that are measurable by devices that I have access to in a fashion that is correspondent to measurements that I've recorded among other subjects using the same instrument? Yes. Okay. True to the first kind. That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, is this color red? And now you might deny the presence of subjectivity at all, in which case there's really no point in us having a conversation. If you think that through, you understand that I'm not just being petulant. It is literally pointless to have conversations if there is no subjectivity. The notion is not even a thing. So if you don't, then we have to carve out that category of truth. It's powerful. Do you love your child? Right? Lots of things in life have to do with things that are strictly subjective in a distinct individual. And yet there's a truth. There really is a truth. The thing may or may not be red in your own personal experience. You may or may not love your child in your own personal feeling, right? The truth of feeling. This kind of truth is the kind of truth that is oftentimes expressed in the form of art. Right? So we might say a particularly moving piece of music. We'd say, wow, that is very true. Things like profound truth or of that sort, really. There's a subjectivity to it that really you get the distinct sense someone has felt deeply and accurately and has produced an expression which expresses that out well. Now, of course, we're talking about now shared subjectivity, meaning I feel something like this and I'm in sympathy with it, in resonance with it in a particular way. So we can't really ever speak about it. It's a mystery. It is the mystery. And to the degree to which it's in service to life, it is also participating in the truth of the second kind, which is more fundamental as well, in the same sense. That's a longer conversation. So there we go. 3 different senses of the meaning of the word true. And if we're simply clear on those distinctions, and are able to notice their relationships and their aspects and their characteristics and how they play a role in what we're doing, then honestly, I think things get pretty simple.